My name is Emma. Ever since I dropped out of high school, I've poured everything into my work. I decided to leave high school because there was something I just had to do. Although my parents were worried, they supported my decision. I believe that I am where I am today because of their support. Recently, my parents, to whom I am deeply grateful, told me that they are considering letting go of our family home. This home is a single-family house that was handed down from my grandparents. It has been renovated over the years, but as it has been used for many years, it has started to show signs of wear and tear. With my parents getting older, they are considering moving to a barrier-free apartment and demolishing the family home. Indeed, I realized that our old home was indeed old, and so I proposed to my parents that we live together. I may get married eventually, so we might not be able to live together for long. However, I wanted to give back to my parents who had supported me without denying the decisions I made when I was young. So my parents and I moved into a new apartment. We now have more rooms than we did in our old house, and since we live on a high floor, my parents are delighted, saying, "The view is great, and we even have a hobby room." Then one day, while I was living peacefully with my parents, I got a call from my younger sister, Jane. Jane and I have not been on good terms for a long time. That's because she feels ashamed of me. When I decided to drop out of high school, Jane was furious. "Why are you quitting high school, Emma? I don't want any of my friends to find out that my sister dropped out of high school because it's embarrassing. From now on, pretend we don't know each other." Although Jane and I went to different high schools, it seems that me dropping out of high school was something to be ashamed of for Jane. Jane is a very hard worker and attended a higher ranked high school than I did, so she has always looked down on me. Jane, whose favorite phrase is, "Emma is stupid," made fun of me at the time, saying, "There's no way you're going to succeed in what you want to do. You can't even understand that, Emma, because you're stupid." I was tired of hearing Jane tell me almost every day that you're causing trouble for our parents by dropping out of high school, so you should leave. So as soon as I started earning money from part-time jobs after dropping out of high school, I left home. After 10 years have passed since then, and Jane had also left home. There was no communication between Jane and me, and since Jane started living alone in college, it seems she has not been in touch with our parents much either. When our parents decided to demolish our family home, they apparently consulted not only me, but also Jane. However, Jane just said, "I don't care about that old house. Do whatever you want." My parents were racking their brains, wondering, why did Jane turn out like that? So when they got a call from Jane, they were surprised. According to Mother, who answered the phone, it seems that Jane got married without telling our parents anything. "So you've decided to live in a condo, right? We'll come visit with your husband sometime. Show us around." With these words, it was revealed that Jane was married. My parents, who had no clue, seemed quite surprised, but Jane herself casually shrugged it off, saying, "Didn't I mention it?" It was also revealed that Jane wasn't planning on having a wedding ceremony, which felt quite off. Jane was a girly girl, who since her childhood had always dreamt of being a princess. She had even talked in detail about the kind of dress she wanted to wear at her wedding. It was quite strange that someone like her would get married without having a wedding ceremony. I wondered if her husband didn't have much money, but according to Jane, her husband worked at the same company as her. The company where Jane works is a well-known corporation, recognized by everyone nationwide. If he was working at such a company, he should have enough money, which made it even more mysterious. Finally, the day came when Jane visited her parents' house. "Wow, such a large and clean room. The view is amazing. Excuse our intrusion." Jane's husband, left standing, greeted as Jane, without any hesitation, began to explore each room, even though it was her childhood home. Jane's husband is named Scott. He is a fresh-faced man with an expensive-looking watch on his wrist. What was strange was that, despite his very proper appearance, he didn't meet our eyes at all. After introducing himself to the parents, Scott was exploring the rooms without any restraint, just like Jane. Your parents are amazing. The station is close, and there's a shopping mall just around the corner. You moved to a great place. Yeah, all thanks to Emma. When my mother smiled at me, I humbly replied, "It wasn't a big deal." To which Jane made a deliberately mean face, saying, "Really? You have an older sister? I didn't notice. I never thought that such a beautiful and expensive-looking room would have an older sister living here." Huh? Jane, Emma is not freeloading. My father was about to explain, but Jane ignored him. Pointing at me, she beckoned Scott over. Hey, Scott. Do you believe this ugly woman is my sister? This is Jane's sister you've been talking about? I didn't realize because you two look nothing alike. Suddenly mocked by Jane and Scott, I stood dumbfounded. My mother scolded, "Jane, what are you saying?" But Jane didn't seem to care. My sister couldn't even graduate high school. She's not the brightest. There's a big difference between us, you know. We, who have graduated from a state university. I was shocked when I heard that Jane's sister couldn't even properly graduate high school, but it seems like it's true. If she had someone like this in her family, it's no wonder Jane would be embarrassed. Laughing together, Jane and Scott opened the door to my room as they continued their conversation. And then, "Ugh!" she exclaimed in disgust. "What's the point of hoarding so much comic books? It's creepy. Are you still into that nerdy stuff?" My room's walls are covered with comic books, because I'm a comic book artist. The reason I dropped out of high school was because I wanted to dedicate myself entirely to comic books. Jane is the type that feels disgust towards such subcultures, what we'd call extroverted. Just like how Jane can't understand why I, being introverted and passionate about comics, I can't understand why Jane applies her mascara so heavily. Well, I'm a comic book artist. These are all my references. You're probably not even a successful comic book artist, are you? You're still mooching off mom and dad. It's disgraceful. Just get out already. Confused by what she was saying, I instinctively replied, "What?" "So just get out! Scott and I are going to be living in this house from now on." "What?" "Jane, I've heard nothing of this." Mother and father both exclaimed in surprise. Ignoring their shock, Jane laughed snidely. "Scott and I will take care of mom and dad. You're no longer needed, so get out. Aren't you embarrassed to still be mooching off them? Not only are you ugly, but you're also stupid." At Jane's words, Scott just chuckles. Holding back an angry mother, I said, "All right." Jane and Scott's attitude had not only upset my parents, I was furious too. I wouldn't let them get away with this. I decided to give in to Jane's demand. "All right, I'll move out in a few days, and you and Scott can live here. But remember, I'm not giving you any money." Sure. Bye, sis. Please, move out as soon as you can." After having their say, Jane and Scott headed home. "The next time we come, it'll be to move in," they triumphantly told my parents before leaving. My parents told me, "There's no need for you to move out." But I, who had sworn revenge on Jane and Scott, responded, "No, I'm moving out. I have a place to go," and moved out promptly. Jane and Scott soon moved into our family home. On the day of the move, "Have you moved out yet?" Jane asked over the phone. I replied in exasperation, "I'm on my way out now, so don't worry." Jane always behaves politely to our parents, never being mean to them. However, she often seemed to belittle me. To our parents, both Jane and I were their beloved daughters. They told Jane and Scott that it hurts to hear them badmouth me, but it seems the two didn't take it to heart. Then, a month later, just as I predicted, I got a call from Jane. As I picked up the phone, I thought, here it comes. And a nearly crying Jane blurted out, "Emma! The property management company of the apartment called me, saying they haven't received the rent. What's going on? They even said if I continue to be in arrears, they'll kick me out." "Why would I pay the rent? I don't live there anymore, do I?" "I've heard from mother and father. You were paying the rent because you wanted to show your gratitude to them, right? Why did you stop?" "Like I said, I don't live there, so I don't have an obligation to pay the rent." "Just bring the money right now. The utility bills are also ridiculously high." Being disgusted with Jane, who kept talking and hung up, I called my boyfriend. Liam, Jane just asked me to come over. I'm going to our parents' house. Okay, I'll come with you. I'm worried about you, Emma, and I haven't seen your parents in a while. The reason why I immediately had a place to go after leaving my parents' home is because my boyfriend, Liam, offered me a room. As we were considering marriage, this past month was a good practice period for us. I went to my parents' house with Liam. As I opened the door of the house, Jane, red with anger, showed up. Did you bring the money? Pay the money properly for the sake of showing gratitude to our parents. Do you think I'm a struggling cartoonist, Jane? How do you think I can afford the rent for such a luxury apartment? Well, I don't know, but you were able to pay until now, right? Please pay the rent and utility bills. I won't. Jane and Scott, you both work for respectable companies, right? Why can't you pay your own rent? At my question, Jane was at a loss for words. I noticed that Jane might not have the money. Jane was dressed in branded clothing from head to toe, and I noticed a luxury-looking watch on Scott's arm, who was also decked out in branded items. Isn't it that Jane and Scott can't pay the rent? Not that they won't? You said you wanted to take care of Mother and Father, but I heard you've left all the housework to Mother. Aren't you and Scott just living off Mother and Father? Jane, who was struck at the heart, bit her lip. Scott, who was not looking at me, but only at Liam, raised his trembling voice. Why is Liam here? Huh? Liam? Scott seemed startled, while Jane appeared nonplussed. Liam, who had been watching the sisters quarrel with a troubled look, then introduced himself with a smile. Ah, hello there. I see you already knew. I'm dating Emma with the intention of marrying her. What? Emma and Liam are dating? What the hell? Who is this Liam guy? Scott, seemingly agitated, addressed Jane, who seemed not to be following the conversation. Don't you know? He's a voice actor from an anime that caused a societal buzz. You've seen him on TV and all. What? Why is my sister dating such a guy? It's because Emma is the one who drew the original story for that socially influential anime. When Liam gently explained about me, Jane's face was a picture of shock. Actually, I had a series in a boys' magazine, and that comic had become so popular, it was considered a societal phenomenon. Even Jane, who was not well versed in comics, recognized the title and turned pale, seeming to regret all the times she had underestimated me now that she knew I was rich. I sighed at Jane's sudden change in attitude and told Jane and Scott, if you can't pay, then leave right now. I'll be demanding the 1 month's rent from you later. Don't say that, sis. Scott and I, we got hooked on gambling and ran out of money. It turned out that Jane and Scott had become deeply absorbed in slot machines and had lost a considerable amount of money. The reason they decided to live with their parents back home was also due to a lack of funds. It seemed they even borrowed money from shady sources, and most of their decent salary was going towards repaying that debt, which was quite shocking. I have no intention of helping Jane, who has always been mocking me. Our parents are moving again, so you and Scott should leave right away. Why are Mom and Dad moving? So you won't come crying to them. I can easily imagine debt-ridden Jane causing trouble for our parents. If you don't leave promptly, I will be charging you for the second month's rent as well. When I sternly made that clear, Jane and Scott reluctantly said, okay, and the gathering dispersed. My parents, who had been out, heard about this later and called Liam to apologize, but Liam seemed unfazed. Perhaps it would be best to avoid seeing Jane for a while, he said, and helped me find a new place for my parents to move to. I promptly bought a new apartment, and my parents prepared to move, once again. I'm sorry for the trouble, my parents said, and I replied, it's only natural to repay the favor to you both, who supported me when I made the drastic decision to drop out of high school. I am what I am today because of you. My parents were brought to tears at this. Jane and Scott seemed to be struggling with debt repayments even after that, but I had no obligation to show mercy, so I demanded full payment for the 1 month's rent and utilities I had fronted. But Jane and Scott didn't pay back the money and stopped answering their phones, so I called their workplace directly and finally received the payment. However, this caused everyone at their company to find out about the debt-ridden couple, Jane and Scott. Apparently, they can't quit their jobs because they need the money, and they continue to work, feeling quite uncomfortable. Afterwards, I married Liam. Our parents gave us their blessings, and we've been leading a happy life. Although I've cut ties with Jane and Scott as blood-related siblings, I wish for them to live strong.
Starting today, we're looking after her. You can't have kids, so you must be thrilled, right?
3 years into our marriage, my husband suddenly brought home his niece. To make matters worse, she was a result of his sister's affair. Deciding on his own to raise her at our home? That's the height of irresponsibility. I won't just go along with this. They won't get their way with me. My name is Priscilla. I'm 30, living the typical life of a dual-income couple with my husband Randolph. We don't have any kids, not because of health issues, but financial reasons. We dream of buying our own home and must be careful with our financial planning. We have decided to wait until we have saved enough for a down payment and birth costs. Since Randolph usually gets home late, I always prepare dinner while waiting for him.
I'm home, Priscilla. What a day.
Welcome back. Dinner's almost ready. Go wash your hands.
What's cooking? It smells amazing.
It's your favorite meat sauce pasta.
Really? I'll wash my hands right now. By the way, any chance for seconds?
Of course, there's plenty.
Awesome. I'll have 3 plates then.
He always enjoys the dishes I make. The seasoning differs from what he's used to, but seeing him relish every bite makes me not care anymore. Our relationship with the in-laws is balanced, not too close, not too distant. But there's one shadow over our life, Randall's sister, Garnet. 5 years younger than us, Garnet is a real piece of work. She looks sweet, but in reality, she's a flirt and not the nicest person. She's one of the worst people I have ever met. Lately, every time we meet, she belittles me. You probably weren't popular in school, were you? Despite her rude question, I try to answer lightheartedly. Well, I was more into basketball in school, never really interested in dating. That's what unpopular people always say. Were you one of them? It's not an excuse. I just wasn't interested in romance. Yeah, I get it. Clearly, you're not the popular type. Garnet, that's quite rude. But it's true, right? Got under your skin? Enough of that. Let's drop it. You know, when I walk around town, I get scouted as a model. It's so hard to shop peacefully. Maybe I should take you as a bodyguard? Garnet always makes me her verbal punching bag. What's worse is that she acts without any remorse. The most stressful part is that my husband's family spoils her rotten. Both sets of parents and even my husband dote on her, letting her say whatever she pleases without any reprimand. Apparently, her beauty has always made her the family's darling. Her skin is as white as porcelain, her hair a fluffy platinum blonde, and her body delicately petite, like a doll. As a result, she's always fawned over by everyone around her and has morphed into a rather arrogant monster. Just the other day, something happened when we visited my in-laws. My sister-in-law noticed a bag I have been using for years and laughed at it, pointing her finger. Wait, what's with your bag, sis? What? Is there something wrong with my bag? Isn't it a bit too worn out? How many years have you been using it? Well, it's been about 3 years, but I don't think it's all that worn out. The handle's color is fading a bit, isn't it? I would be too embarrassed to use it. I like this bag. I don't mind if it's a little worn out. I just keep using it because it's important to me. Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law burst out laughing, a smirk of contempt on her face. Sis, you must have become stingy because you don't get hit on, right? What? What does that have to do with not getting hit on? At my irritation, she looked up at me, pouting her lips. It does matter. If I want something, guys immediately buy it for me. But you don't have that, do you? Why would I wouldn't ask strangers to buy me personal items. I can do that because I'm popular. If I ask, everyone will buy me anything. It's tough being so popular, but it's a blessing. At this, even I was at a loss for words. Then one day, I received an email from Garnet saying she wanted to talk about something and she visited our condo, and then she uttered something utterly shocking. Hey sis, guess what? I'm dating a married man right now. What? A married man? He even has kids. Whoa, wait a minute. What are you saying? Isn't that pretty bad? Don't be so straightforward, sis. Everyone's cheating. It's not a big deal. That's not okay, and he even has a wife and kids. Stop nagging. I didn't come here to be lectured. I came here to brag about being hit on by a married man. What on earth is she saying? She said she had a problem and asked me to make time for her. What is this all about? She's not in trouble. She's bragging? I can't believe it. Garnet, cheating is not okay. You should end that relationship as soon as possible. Oh, well, I guess you wouldn't understand because you're not popular. What a waste of time. With that, she quickly left. Since then, I couldn't stand her and tried to avoid her as much as possible. It was 6 months later when my sister-in-law got pregnant with a child from the married man. I couldn't believe what my husband told me and had to ask him to repeat it several times. Huh? Garnet is pregnant with a child from the man she cheated with? You're kidding, right?
Yeah, and her belly is already pretty big, so it seems she has no choice but to give birth.
But how will she raise it? And won't the man's wife demand compensation?
She is already being demanded, but she says she's definitely going to have the baby.
What? She didn't just cheat with a married man, she got pregnant too? My disgust for my sister-in-law was beyond control. My contempt deepened, and I found myself unable to... Despite everything that's been going on, you feel sympathy? I can't believe it. One day, out of frustration, I confronted my husband. Listen, Randolph, this is really getting out of hand.
Oh, what's out of hand?
Garnet, it's already bad enough she had an affair as a married woman, but why on earth aren't you scolding her for getting pregnant too?
Scolding? Look, Garnet is struggling, isn't she? This is her first pregnancy and emotionally...
My voice naturally rose against my husband's careless droning. Struggling? That's not the point. Think about the other woman. She has a kid, and her husband cheated on her, and the woman he cheated with is pregnant now. Garnet should certainly be remorseful, don't you think?
Why are you so angry? Don't you feel sorry for Garnet at all, Priscilla?
Sorry? Sorry for what? The one at fault is Garnet, who had the affair, isn't it?
That's enough. I didn't realize you would be so cold, Priscilla.
What? Why am I the one being blamed here? The ones with messed up morals are my husband and his family, right? I continued to argue with my husband, but he wouldn't listen. I kept my distance from my sister-in-law and lived independently until... My husband suddenly said something outrageous.
I've been thinking, we should take in Garnet's baby.
What? What are you talking about? How could you even think like that?
Well, Garnet said, you can take care of it if you want. We don't have kids of our own, so...
That's not the point. Stop being so impulsive. Why have we been living a planned life till now? To my desperate pleas, my husband said something even more preposterous.
After all, Garnet will be the one giving birth, so it won't put any burden on you, Priscilla. Plus, if Garnet were to get married to someone else, the child would be a nuisance, wouldn't it?
What?
Anyways, this decision is final. Start preparing to welcome a child, alright?
The cruelty of my husband's casual words filled me with fear. He's serious? We are supposed to take care of a child conceived through my sister-in-law's affair? It's fine just because we don't have kids? That's absurd. My distrust and disgust towards my husband only grew day by day. Living together was starting to feel unbearable. My in-laws, who did nothing to scold my sister-in-law, said this to me.
Well, Garnet is young and attractive. She could get married to another man in the future. Considering that, it's best for you and Randolph to raise Garnet's child.
Yeah, Garnet's child would surely be adorable, whoever raises it. It's still our grandchild after all. I panicked and put a stop to my in-laws' excited rambling. Wait. Are you serious? I don't plan to...
Well, aren't you infertile, Priscilla? Is there any problem?
You've been married for quite a while now and haven't gotten pregnant. It's lucky that Garnet could have a baby for you. Or are you just jealous that Garnet is pregnant? Jealous? For the record, I'm not infertile. We have planned to start trying for a baby after considering things like buying a house. Even my husband, who should have been on my side, joined in the ridicule.
Hey, Priscilla, jealousy isn't a good look.
I am not jealous.
So you're just upset your little sister beat you to it, huh?
What? The family's ethics are beyond my comprehension. A few weeks later, my sister-in-law gives birth to the married man's child and my husband comes home holding the newborn. With a wide smile, he tells me,
"We're going to take care of this baby from now on."
You're kidding, right? Despite everything I said, you actually brought the baby home?
Come on, aren't you happy, Priscilla? You can't have kids after all.
Stop it. I told you I am not infertile. We agreed to wait until we have saved enough money.
But didn't I also tell you that jealousy isn't a good look? Stop envying Garnet. Can't be helped, right? Unlike you, Garnet is cute and attractive.
In that moment, my anger reached its peak. I can't be in a marriage with this man anymore. I tell my husband calmly, if you want to take care of that child so badly, then do it on your own.
On my own?
He quickly raises an eyebrow.
Who do you think you are? I took in the child for you too.
For me? Stop joking. I refused countless times. Despite that, you brought the child home anyway. How is that for me?
Enough. If you are going to refuse this child so much, we're getting a divorce.
Perfect, because that's what I want too. I can't be married to someone like you anymore. I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared in advance and he signs them looking like a demon.
There, I signed it. Are you happy now?
Thank you. I'll file these then. As I gather my belongings to leave, he throws the divorce papers at me.
You're so stubborn and not cute at all. Have fun living a lonely life.
Living a lonely life? I wonder who's really going to end up like that. Barely suppressing a grin, I leave the house I had lived in for so many years. After our divorce, my ex-husband apparently moved out of our condominium to live with his parents. His parents were overjoyed to be able to live off their son's income and quickly quit their jobs. He must have been very happy to be relied upon by his parents as he was determined to work hard for his parents and daughter. One day, I unexpectedly run into my friend Shirley while walking in the city. She works at the same company as my ex-husband, so she already knows about our divorce. I was quite shocked by the truth she told me. Wait, he's saying I cheated? Yeah, he's been saying at work that he found out you were cheating while you were pregnant, that the baby might not even be his. Everyone's been feeling really sorry for him. Why did you tell me, Priscilla? Hold on a second. I didn't cheat and I didn't even have a baby. Wait, what do you mean? I explained everything to Shirley. Upon hearing this, Shirley became furious, turned bright red and promised to tell everyone the truth at work. My ex-husband, cornered by Shirley, frantically tried to make excuses. Randolph, how dare you spread lies about Priscilla cheating?
What? I never lied.
Your daughter? She's not Priscilla's daughter, is she? She's your sister's child. Your sister is the one who cheated and you decided to take the child all by yourself. Priscilla was so disgusted she left you. That's the truth, isn't it?
No. Priscilla was the one who cheated. My sister had nothing to do with it.
Oh, really? Well, shall we call Priscilla now? It will be easy to confirm if she gave birth.
Oh, well.
Shirley quickly exposed my ex-husband's lies. He faced heavy criticism from everyone at the company. Ultimately, he was summoned by his boss, leading him to lose his place in the company and resign. With no income, his parents quickly turned cold and it seemed like he was on the verge of being kicked out of their home. In a sudden change of heart, he reached out to me.
Priscilla, I was wrong. Please help me.
When I answered the phone, my feelings were icy cold. Help you? What are you talking about now?
I'll leave Garnell's child at home, so please, let's try again.
I was utterly fed up with him. Still spouting convenient things in this situation? As if to vent all the resentment I had been holding, I poured out my feelings onto him. Enough. Who are you to say help me or let's try again? It's too late to be so shameless. Who do you think ended our marriage? It was all your own selfish decisions.
I'm sorry. I'll apologize, so please forgive me.
Why would I forgive you, you idiot? A senseless man like you? I reject you. Not having a child was the best decision. Thank you for allowing me to divorce you without any regrets.
Calm down, hey! I will never forgive you. I have no intention of having anything to do with you again. Whatever happens to you, I don't care. Just fall, you fool. After letting out everything I wanted to say, I hung up the phone. In that moment, I blocked his number. According to rumors, my ex-husband begged his parents and they let him stay in their house under the condition he covers his own living expenses. However, he was unable to secure another job and in desperation resorted to borrowing money from an illegal lender with exorbitant interest rates. Now his whole family lives in fear of debt collectors. My former sister-in-law also faced troubles as the wife of the man she cheated with demanded a large sum of money as compensation. Her friends discovered her affair and she quickly lost their respect. Having had an affair with a married man and dumped the child on her real brother, she is now struggling without any men around her. Meanwhile, I rented a condominium near my workplace and have been enjoying my single life. I used to think that I couldn't imagine a life without a husband, but now I genuinely believe that it was a good thing to divorce. If I ever get involved with someone again, I want to avoid making the same mistakes. To grab my own happiness, I am determined to discern people properly.